Hello, Culture Matters podcast. Before I share the excerpt, 30 Days of Thought, here's a quote just for this episode. Life is not a problem to be solved, but a reality to be experienced. Soren Kierkegaard. On page 117 and 118, excerpt today is humanity. The purpose of 30 Days of Thought is to read, to think, to write, to develop, to listen to hear what is unsaid after you've filmed your video of your thought, put it out on social media, listen to yourself, hear what is unsaid, reflect on your thought with the crowd, with others that will comment for the purpose of self-awareness, self-development, self-improvement. The things that we say we want are actually revealed that we want them in how we show up. You know, am I actually capable of being judged by my words? Am I capable of self-developing? To develop oneself takes more than oneself. It takes others. It takes the crowd. It takes a reciprocal interaction. It takes the reciprocity of thought. It's what I think. It's what you think. It's what we both come to know. It's what we share. It's what we omit. It's what we think we understand that we don't. Here's a quote from this excerpt. When we think we know, we do not understand. And when we understand, we know, we do not know absolutely. When we think we know, we do not understand. And when we understand, we know, we do not know absolutely. Socrates said something to the effect of the more that I know that I don't know. The more that I have come to know, the more that I don't know. It's that never ending staircase. It's that never ending journey of unlearning to learn anew. It's that the humility to look at the unknown and say, wow, what else can I explore? There's this Duns-Kruger effect. The Duns-Kruger effect speaks to this. The less one knows, the more they actually think they know. What is the Dunning-Kruger effect? Here it is. Dunning-Kruger effect is a cognitive bias where people with low competence in a specific area tend to overestimate their abilities. So low competence in a specific area tend to overestimate their abilities, while those with high competence may underestimate their skills, often due to lack of self-awareness. I should screen share for this amazing graph actually on on YouTube. Watch this on YouTube for this diagram. Here it is. The confidence competence graph. High confidence, low confidence. This is easy, quote unquote. And then competence starts increasing, confidence goes down. This is actually quite difficult. Middle range of competence, confidence goes down dramatically. I'll never understand this. And then higher confidence, getting the hang of it. And then, so confidence is starting to rise. Okay. And then at the height of competence, confidence is quote unquote, trust me, this isn't easy. Fascinating. Here's another component of it. The definition, the Dunning-Kruger effect, named after psychologists David Dunning and Justin Kruger, describes a tendency for individuals with limited knowledge or skills in a particular area to overestimate their abilities and competence. A lack of self-awareness. People with low competence often lack the skills needed to accurately assess their own abilities, leading to an inflated self-assessments. That's an interesting paradox. If you lack the skills to know you don't know, and you think if you think you know when you don't know, why would you even go out to try to get the skills? Right? It's well, you're unlikely to. So it's this is where the crowd comes in. This is where testing comes in. This is where people knock school, people knock education, but there's such value in peers, having a peer dynamic, being in a group, being able to see and feel where one fits. That group aspect increases self-awareness, as well as the testing, the results shows us how competent we actually are. Yes, or it's a partial component to that, but it's an important component to it. Yeah, there's exceptions. People can really stink at tests, have all sorts of reasons why they wouldn't be good at it. But this is where the importance of the mentor comes in. That teacher taking an extra interest in the child, right? You have the mentor in that relationship, mentor mentee, one-to-one teacher and child. You have the peer aspect. We will be spoken to, related to and spoken to relative to our how we show up in the group. Somebody that thinks they're the best, other people are going to cut them down real quickly and say, "You're not that good, and here's why." And of course, the testing. It's like in business. The numbers, they say the numbers don't lie. The profit, the loss will show us. That's why it's so important to know the numbers and to be willing to speak on the numbers in a meeting. If you see a leader, a person in a position of authority over the group, kind of pushing everyone away from the numbers or coming up with a story around the numbers that limits others, those in the group to really think through what the problems could be that are revealed in the numbers, there to work in the business on things that are not as good as they could be. That's showing an insecure, malevolent, even leader pushing people away from the truth because the numbers are going to actually help those in that are not necessarily in the know to have a grasp of what the no is by looking at what the numbers present. So lack of self-awareness. People with low competence often lack the skills needed to accurately assess their own abilities, leading to inflated self-assessments. Yes, this is where the power of community comes in. This is where the power of the results, the numbers, the key performance indicators. This is the value of a board in a public company. This is the value of strong advisors on legal and accounting and coaching side for a private business. That's so key that they have integrity, those that advise those in positions of power, because those in positions of power can very well easily succumb to the Dunning-Kruger effect and be surrounded by those that people that just yes them. Now, of course, someone that is corrupt in a position and leading an institution that's become corrupt may not be willing to put up with those that tell them what they don't want to hear. However, it has to be done. And that's the value of the integrity of the outside advisors. They're not beholden to the institution for the lion's share of their capital. It's so important that entrepreneurial spirit, it lies within, and that integrity and that strong character lies within advisors, because a person in a position of authority, influence, and power over their people, over their employees, can pay for people to lie, pay people enough. It's like Upton St. Clair. If I'm if a person is being paid not to know something, they won't know it. So that's a tactic that malevolent leaders will use to undermine dissent, to undermine truth, to undermine integrity, is overcompensate people to compromise their integrity. Consequences of the Dunning-Kruger effect. This overestimation can lead to poor decision making, mistakes, and a lack of self awareness, potentially resulting in negative outcomes in various areas of life. This is something that happens in businesses very naturally. People get high on power and they don't want to know the truth. They don't want to explore the problems. They don't want to understand it. And then it's everybody's fault except them. And now they've got to lay off half their staff because of their own idiotic assumptions and their own self centered behavior in positions of leadership. The other side, conversely, highly skilled individuals may underestimate their abilities and think the task is simple for everyone, leading to a sense of humility. I know leaders like this. Highly skilled individuals may underestimate their abilities and think the task is simple for everyone, leading to a sense of humility. I have seen that from highly skilled, highly experienced, wise leaders who are a joy to work with, who desire information, desire feedback, desire the truth. They yearn for the truth. They want to know, they want to get better. They're not hiding anything. They're fully transparent with what things are, the way they are, how they see them. And they ask, what do you think? Examples. Someone with limited knowledge of a subject confidently shares incorrect information as if they are an expert. Man, social media. That's why I'm reading this from the internet. That sounds terrible, right? I'm reading this from, this is the AI overview. Listen, fact check me. I could be wrong. I mean, it's coming from the internet. It's coming from Wikipedia. It's coming from the AI overview. Fact check me. I'm another stooge on the internet telling you something you should think. I just have to say that as a disclaimer because someone with limited knowledge of a subject confidently shares incorrect information as if they are an expert. You know, I'm putting on the show. Here's the information. Implicit in this, me reading this, implicit is like I'm an expert on this. Well, my subject matter expertise is company culture, management, leadership. What is behind that would be 12,000 hours roughly of study from a book sense and 10 years of working in small business as in 500 employees and down, 250 million revenue and down. That's about the breadth of my experience as a culture and business advisor and as an author of 30 Days of Thought and an interview of hundreds and hundreds of entrepreneurs. We're going on, we'll be at 1,000 podcasts by August 20th, 28th, based on the forecast, preparing before each interview, doing the due diligence, asking the questions, recognizing the patterns. I've written about 50, 55 or 60 workbooks for companies, 10 actual full books on our client partners called The Culture Puzzle, an agglomeration of psychological data, the values of organizations, strategies, business theory, and so much more. So there's experience and there's knowledge behind me as it relates to company culture, leadership, management, business theory, business case studies, and so on. I still and I feel like I don't know anything, and I'm an idiot most of the time. Um, I could just be an idiot. It doesn't mean that I'm suffering from the Duns-Kruger. I could actually just be suffering from the Duns-Kruger and be aware that I'm a fool, yet desire so deeply to be taken seriously that I'm recording this podcast. I think it's at least helpful that I say that too. It's funny. Though, if I look back at my career, in the beginning when I started Culture Matters, I knew less, and I think I actually did think I had more figured out. I, it's embarrassing, but I had more confidence in the beginning. My confidence has waned the last few years, and maybe that's partly why I started doing these monologues now that I think about it. Because if I'm looking at this graph again, I'll pull it up. This graph, screen share, go to YouTube. Where's my screen share? If I'm looking at this graph, This is actually quite difficult. Yep. I'll never understand. I think I'm at the point where I'll never understand culture. That's where I am. So my competence is great. My competence is greater than when I used to do a lot of public speaking on stage, and that was very easy. My confidence was very high. My competence was very low. Less experience, less books read, less studied, less case studies, less client work for the good and the bad. This is actually quite difficult. Um, yeah, I feel that to this day. I'm somewhere between I'll never understand this and getting the hang of it is where I feel that I am. I'm so anyway, I'd love to be judged on that by somebody that we work with. But so in closing, I didn't even read humanity. Someone would never, yeah, an individual with poor writing skills believes their writing is excellent. Yeah, I've been there. My writing sucks. I think when I wrote 30 Days of Thought, I thought that it was wonderful. And then I looked at the reviews and I also, ultimately it could use a lot of work. It's interesting. Oh, I don't want you to think that the book couldn't be valuable because plenty of the reviews have shared how much value has come from it. I've been very honest. It's not my book to, read and try to study and memorize, but it's really a launching pad for you to write your thoughts and think your thoughts. There are some thoughts in here that I'm really proud of. Their imagine the creativity and the concept that the one insight that I'm looking to get across. However, the writing is nowhere near as erudite. Is that the right word? Is nowhere near as good as the thoughts. So that I can agree with. A person with little, I wrote the books almost 7 years ago. A person with little experience in a particular field confidently takes on a project that is beyond their capabilities. I see that with founders. It's interesting. The part of the secret sauce of a founder is of the visionary. As Nietzsche said, the visionary lies to himself, the liar to everyone else. I do think there's an important component to those that start something that no one's ever done. There's this necessary foolishness, this necessary self-deceit. However, it's when the company becomes an actual company, much of what has been useful to get it there has to be unlearned. And that's really where my subject matter expertise has carved itself, is working with founders and help them mature into the CEO role, e.g., the CEO manual that we have now with our work with business owners. So addressing the effect to mitigate the Dunning-Kruger effect, it's important to seek feedback, engage in critical self-reflection, and develop the humility to recognize one's limitations. It can be very hard to do all that when starting a business. Feedback can convince someone to stop. Self-criticism and reflection might slow down action and momentum, and anxiety translated into sales and marketing, and developing the humility to recognize one's limitations. That could potentially create doubt and lead to something never getting started. However, not seeking feedback when we have a team is the stultification of creativity, productivity, and purpose. Not self-reflecting when there is a business will lead to the anxiety that presupposed the founding to completely disorient the leadership. And that's where you see people selling their businesses on a dime. Not developing humility to recognize one's limitation leads to poor asset allocation, poor, mergers and acquisitions, buying really foolish shit with the money that people make from their businesses, and so much more. But in closing, oh, quote, oh, humanity, we, the wretched souls, cower under the shadow of our past. We develop a false belief that all was true and all which we experience has made us and defined us. We are not the happenings of life. We are not limited by occurrences caused by others, only by us. We are but the decisive habituations relegated onto us by our environment. So our environment has an influence over who we are. But we're more than just that. We're not just what happened to us, we're what can happen through us, or what we can do about our circumstances. Quote, the genes we have been impacted. Yeah, we have been impacted by our predecessors and the lucky happenstances. We did not die as of moments past. Humanity has drowned herself in a pool of woes, of dread, and the smog of desire has canvassed itself over her body of life with everlasting H2O, the essence of all beginnings. The birth of tragedy of this humanity is what we scrape off ourselves when we battle and when we shed our primordial skin daily, when we reflect, grow, and share our new truths with the ones who share this ecosystem of belief called life. The culture, that was a long run on sentence, the culture we propagate and abstract within. Humanity is the culmination of every happening, all past occurrences, both energy and matter, the infinite future probabilities that are inevitable in this universe or another layered in between dimensionality. Wow, what a great excerpt to read today on this Dunn-Kruger. Because if I was any more bombastic, who knows what the hell would come of me. 30 days of thought, write your thoughts. I'm not going to finish this one. Get the book, write your thoughts to develop, or read the excerpts, write your thoughts, film your videos, and grow. Please share this with a friend who would find the Dunning-Kruger effect interesting. Leave us a review on the Culture Matters podcast. We will see you next.